And the Giants are now the betting favorites to get Aaron Judge. The Giants are the betting favorites in Vegas to get Aaron Judge. And I just started thinking about this for a second, and I'll just throw some of the thoughts that went through my head. I mean, first of all, my mind goes to, well, this is one of the biggest free agent signings in the Bay Area, in the history of the Bay Area, if it happens. I mean, Bonds, Durant, those are the two that stick out to me. I'm sure there are others.
But Deion Sanders.
Yeah, that was a pretty big one.
It was such a short-lived one.
Yeah, that's a good one. But I, also thinking, if you get him, it puts to bed or puts to rest any perception that the Giants either are still pinching pennies or still want to pay off the ballpark, or they're not. They don't care about. You know what I mean? Like it's just
They want to be a
care
big
about
boy.
winning.
They want to be a big boy.
Exactly.
They want to win every possible way you can win, with big time free agents, with player development, with guys off the scrap heap, all of it.
Exactly. And
draft picks, all of it.
The season tickets that'll be sold because of it. But here's the one thing that I keep thinking. This thing to me, JD, has gotten so real that it almost feels like if they don't get him, it's going to be a gut punch. I mean, I think it's going to psychologically be a factor almost if you're a Giant fan. I mean, how could you not be, at this point, crestfallen if you don't get Judge?
I don't think there's any doubt that it would be a gut punch to the Giants fan base if they don't get him, because of what we talked about a little bit last week, and that's the fact that no other player that's available right now moves the needle in the manner that Aaron Judge does. He just broke the American League home run record, hit over 60 home runs on the season for the Yankees. You're taking a player away from the Yankees. Like, you would be getting the number one free agent on the board in the sport this offseason at a time where you feel like you really need that infusion.
Right.
That is a major, major deal. And when you start looking at, well, what if you don't get him?
Right.
Well, like even Trey Turner, who I think is the next best player available, you'd be taken away from the, but there's just not the sex appeal of Aaron freaking Judge, the Yankee, hits home runs. Like, it's everything you want from, eye candy for a fan.
All right, but let me ask you this. Let's say you're a Giant fan.
And you know what else? It also would be, you didn't get Harper, and you didn't get this guy, and you didn't get Guerrero back in the day. And you get there'd be another of the, they came in second again.
Well, that's true.
And that part, I think, would be a gut punch, but I also think it'd make Giants fans a little angry again. Like, why can't you get it done? Why can't you close a deal?
I wonder what percentage, and I would put you in this, and I would also put Willard in this, but I would also say you're more hardcore. You two guys are more hardcore. What about the very real? What about this? What about the very real scenario that there are better strategies to become a better baseball team next year than to pay Aaron Judge $350 million over 8 years? Like, I guess the fact is that I've heard people say, you'd rather have two of these guys and that guy than Judge, or Judge in and of himself doesn't make the Giants better than the Padres or Dodgers. So I guess what I'm saying, JD, is I'm bothered that, not bothered, but you're telling me there's more, that if they don't get Judge, they still could be better than if they sign Judge. See, that to me should give the Giant fans a safety net.
Yeah, but the Giant fans right now are down on the franchise, it feels like. And we could debate.
No, we got into this, yeah.
We could debate whether they should be or not, and I think that's its own separate conversation. But I think right now the perception is the young players that were supposed to be here aren't here. the team was too dependent on either older players or players that were acquired off the scrap heap, and that bit them last year, and that there just isn't an energy surrounding this team that makes you want to go to the ballpark on a night in, night out basis, that makes you want to watch the games on TV, that makes you want to be engaged in being a Giants fan. So in a way, I think it goes beyond even just winning and losing at this point. It's you can't just win. You have to win and be entertaining, and you almost have lost the benefit of the doubt, Steiny, to the point where you have to be entertaining first in a way. Like, you almost have to be entertaining more importantly than winning. Like, you need to win, but at first you need to be entertaining.
Well, that's
something that will be judged before before they even take the field next year.
Exactly. And see that's one of those things, JD, where yes, if they get Judge, obviously it's a franchise changing move. See, that's the other thing that's also to me interesting. When the Warriors went and got Durant, they weren't desperate. That was gravy.
It's true.
Since I've been out in the Bay Area, it's been like 30 years. I won't go back that far, but certainly in the last 10, 20 years, the Giants are at a point right now where they are a little desperate. Like, they are desperate to get fans back into the ballpark. And they've tried with Harper and Stanton. We've heard. So if they don't get Judge, where do they go? Like, where do the Giants go from there? Not only next year, but how are they going to get better? If nobody's coming here
at that point, and I think Farhan would be comfortable in this environment. At that point, you'd take a hit, basically,
right?
But you'd hope, and the hit would be
it's true.
The hit would be that you're going to have no buzz and angst and fans still frustrated with you, but you still can get the last laugh or come out on top if by July you do have a good team. But it can't just be a good team. It has to be a good team that's also interesting. Like, it has to be a good team that has a couple of all-stars and has dynamic players that move the needle. So maybe it's not Aaron Judge. Maybe it is Trey Turner and Nimmo and Jacob deGrom, whatever. I just picked three names out of the hat. And other mid-level guys you sign and you make a trade, and maybe the team does look a lot different than it does at the end of this past season. You're not going to get into the benefit of the doubt, but if you do by July, hey, have a good team that's dynamic and fun. And you know what? Maybe a lot of Giants fans don't know Trey Turner from Aaron Judge, but you get Trey Turner, and it's like, wow, Trey Turner's a hell of a player. Guy steals bases, he hits doubles, he's good defensively. There's action with a guy. So, and you're a good team, and maybe you build a little bit of what you had in 21 to a certain extent, maybe not to that level, but it feels that way with how you're winning games, but more sustainable. Young player, you could do it, but you're going to start behind the 8 ball for a lengthy period of time if you don't get Judge. It's just going to be harder to garner that fan trust again.
The one thing I'm also fascinated is the East Coast to the West Coast thing. New York to LA or New York to San Francisco. Is there anybody that's done that lately? Come from either the Yankees, the Knicks, out to a star player who's left New York.
Yeah, I'm not. There's nobody that comes to mind off the top of my head.
And that's why at one point I think
it would be different. I mean, it really would be.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do, kind of put myself in his spot. Do I really want to pick up and move across the country?
But it's also home, in a sense. I know it's not.
You know what?
I know he didn't grow up.
I know, but
at Broadway and Battery.
But we don't know how much that means, if anything.
No, but I think it's got to be, if he's really legitimately considering coming, it has to mean something. To me, if Judge is going to come, that would be part of it. Otherwise, he wouldn't be considering it
unless he goes somewhere else entirely.
Sure, but it doesn't sound like that's going to happen.
Yeah, I just don't. I wonder how much of a factor that is. And here's my final question, and this would be my big concern if I'm the Giants. What if you do offer him the most money, and he still stays with the Yankees? Because I think the one thing that we're going to either assume or is going to become fact is that the Giants made the highest offer, right? There's no way Farhan talks like he talked. And then he comes out after Judge re-signs with the Yankees and says, we just couldn't get there. We just couldn't get there. Like, there's no chance. And trust me, JD, I believe, there's no chance. Like, I believe him. Like, that won't be the reason.
Well, we don't know that it won't be the reason.
We don't, but we also...
Like, what if it ends up being Judge signs for... What if the Yankees say, you know what, we'll do 400? And the Giants were willing to go 375 or whatever, 350, whatever it is. But the Yankees did 350, 375, 375 to 400, and it's like, hey, the Giants,
I don't care.
Made their
Nope. Doesn't matter.
I mean, they were willing to go above. I can already see, the thing is, I can already hear the reporting on it. Oh, the Giants went above and beyond anything that was imaginable at the beginning of this, but the Yankees just ended up. It was the Yankees with their number one offer, and he wanted to stay. And, but it's really, you didn't have the best offer. Like, to me, it's inexcusable if the Giants don't have the best offer.
Exactly.
Like, it's
so inexcusable that I'm going to assume they will.
And I'm not going to assume, because a lot of this really does boil down to the fact that it's what are you betting? Like, who's going to tap out first? Like, is there a limit for one of these teams versus the other? Like, I think,
to me, it's the Yankees have a limit more so than the Giants. I truly believe that.
And I think the Giants are counting on that.
Right. I think the Giants want to get to a place
on putting
that the Yankees
in a spot where the Yankees are like, you know what? We're the Yankees.
Right.
We got plenty of money. We'll spend it elsewhere and be fine.
Right.
And you know what? We really didn't love this guy anyway.
Right.
Because I do think there's a little of that.
Well, there must be, or he probably have re-signed by now. I do think there has to be. Like, I don't
think he loved being a Yankee to this point. Like, I think he's fine with going back, but I don't think he's in love with being a Yankee at the level that we all talk about a player would be in love with being a Yankee. I think that's already true. Even if he ends up going back, just the fact that he's willing to leave or consider leaving or hear the offers plus the rest of the pitch from the Giants, that tells me that he isn't completely in love with being a Yankee for life.
Well, and to me, again, if you add it all up, that's why this feels far more tangible than any of the others.
And it's also, I think, unique in a lot of ways.
Right. And you know what? You run the risk of doing this when you talk about it is a lot of Giants fans out there are going to roll their eyes. They're going to roll their eyes until Aaron Judge signs on the dotted line with the San Francisco Giants.
Absolutely.
And that's the position they're in, unfortunately, right now, JD.